Welcome to another episode of Two Drink Maximum. I'm your host, Shane Byerly.
I'm your other host, Chase Baxter.
Hey, welcome to the show, everybody. We are excited to have a very fun guest today. We are joined by Katy Tunbridge. And this is an episode that's been a long time coming. We've been trying to get you on the show for a while, but you are just so busy. You travel so often that it's just been, it's taken a little while for the stars to align.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. We're very excited to have you.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
So the first question that we usually ask on this show is, what are we drinking today? We have a couple of cocktails in front of us. What are they and why did you pick it?
Yeah, so we have a Moscow Mule. The reason why I chose this one, the alcoholic that I am, no, just kidding, so many drinks to choose from, but I actually, growing up, I hated ginger. My mom absolutely loved it. So she was always like, do you want a ginger beer, ginger ale, like have some ginger? And I was like, no. But as I got older, I just like had this taste for ginger. And then now I'm absolutely obsessed with it. And then I discovered the Moscow Mule and I was like, this is the best thing ever. so that is why my choice of drink was a Moscow Mule.
Nice. Well, please, let's have a sip. Cheers. Thanks, everybody.
Cheers.
For being here.
Cheers.
That is very refreshing. So for listeners who are unfamiliar, a Moscow Mule is vodka, ginger beer, lime juice, and then because we're fancy here, we put a little sprig of mint. Yeah, fancy, classy.
Ooh,
we put a little sprig of
fancy.
mint in it as well, which I think really sets this thing over the top. So, so as astute listeners could probably tell from your accent, I don't think it's safe to say that you're from Wisconsin originally or somewhere else.
No, from Chicago.
It's Chicago, yeah. So you are Australian.
West side Chicago.
You are from Australia originally.
I'm an Aussie, born and raised from Sydney, on the beautiful northern beaches of Sydney. Beautiful part of the world to grow up in. And so I first came to the States when I was 1999 and I fell in love with the States and then been going back and forth ever since.
Wow, okay. And one of the reasons that's taking you back and forth is, I mean, you are quite the talented singer, songwriter, musician. I mean, you've got kind of a multi-dimensional aspect to your career, but when did you start going from the Sydney to the States because of your music?
So 2011, I won an acting scholarship. And then so here in LA, so I was living between Sydney and LA for 3 years. I did do some music stuff here back then, but then I ended up winning. I win a lot of stuff. So I won a green card. And then that brought me to New York. And then I was doing I'm a sound engineer, so I was mixing live sound in Brooklyn. And hey,
Shout out to
our sound
shout
guy,
out
Dave.
to our sound guy, Dave.
His ears
Hey, Dave.
perked up.
So I was on the desk mixing live sound. Lived in New York for 5.5 years and started singing on people's records and then started writing. I released my first single in 2017.
Nice.
And I was like writing for other people 10 years before that, and I was doing jingles and writing for a kids band and all that happy pop fun stuff.
What was the main difference between writing jingles and kids band and moving into your own music?
Yeah. So I guess like you have to think about what you're writing for. And then the kids' music was just obviously just like, like smile, jump, sing, because I am happy. Like just those little fun, fun things. And then, as I kind of was trying to work out my genre and who I was as an artist, I just was reflecting back on, who I used to listen to growing up and just like pulling from different genres and stuff like that. And then just it's kind of like turned into like alt pop, rock, R&B.
Who are some of your inspirations when you were moving into your own career?
I guess like No Doubt. So like Gwen Stefani was always like that.
Big Gwen fan over here.
Yeah.
He wasn't going to say it. I was like, I know you're a big Gwen fan. Yeah.
And then I like, because, 90s. So it was always like, like Salt and Pepper. So then there was like Tupac and there's all those like kind of like R&B vibes that kind of like just kind of sunk in with how I wrote. And because I started playing guitar when I was 8 years old.
Wow.
I just would kind of lean into that kind of more soulful kind of style. So.
Did you do that on your own volition, or did you have a mentor, a parent, or somebody to kind of force you into learning guitar? Or did you just pick it up?
No, I loved it. Like I kind of like pretty much just came out of the womb singing. So I just have a sip of my Moscow Mules.
Yeah. Did you at 8 years old, did you have access to a guitar, or was that like a thing like, please someone get me a guitar?
Yeah, I was like, please, can I have a guitar? So keys was actually my first instrument, but I got in trouble for not reading the music and playing by ear. So then I got confronted with my when my mum picked me up one time. And the teacher was like, yeah, Katie's not reading the music. And I was just like, this is silly.
Right, that's so strange.
I was like, I want a guitar. And then so the Beatles were a huge influence for me.
I've heard of them.
As well. So yeah.
I don't think I've heard of them.
It's a small band. I think from Liverpool or something.
Somewhere in Europe.
Somewhere. And so I just like love the Beatles. And then so Paul McCartney inspired the guitar for me. So I picked up a guitar and then wrote my first song when I was 10, performed it in front of 1,500 people when I was 11.
Wow.
And then from then on, like that was it for me. I was
got bit by the bug.
How did you pull in 1,500 people?
Oh, social media knows. Like, the internet wasn't even invented back then. No, it probably was just started. I performed it. It was like part of a school assignment.
Perfect storm to put you in front of your first audience.
Yeah.
It's cool. I mean, it might have been a captive audience, but it's still an audience all the same. And I'm sure that's pretty, it's addicting when you play in front of a crowd and they're reacting to it.
It was great. I think I got a standing ovation for that one. From memory. So I was like, woohoo.
You're like, I need more of this.
I need more of this. Everyone stand up.
5 minutes of applause, please.
Yeah. I'm like, no, stop. And I'm like, yes, bring it.
Was there enough of a music scene in Sydney, or at least was there enough fertile soil for you to kind of start to build your skills as an artist and as a writer, or did it feel like it really took off for you when you got to the States?
It was happening before.
Sure.
So I would, although I hadn't released any of my music back then, I was performing like with just covers, like cover band. And then I would do weddings, like street malls, private events. And then I used to DJ as well. So I'd kind of like mix in the whole like guitar, like with DJing sometimes, and just kind of like play like instrumental stuff. Yeah. Because I really love instrumental stuff for some reason, just like chilling out and just like having music on in the background and everything. But I started doing that, and I'd have I'd DJ, I'd set up the set list, and then I'd have a sax player sometimes, and then I'd have me on guitar. So I'd set it up and then just do like little fills, little riffs and stuff like that. And then, so obviously the sax guy would be like, I'm not even going to, sorry, all the sax players out there. Like, what was that?
You've insulted every single one of them.
Yeah. Including my boyfriend. He hates when I do that. He's like, how dare you?
Insulted.
That's awesome. That's something you really like right out of the gate. We're differentiating yourself from other people in the music world as far as, because I don't know a whole lot of DJs that will break out an instrument in the middle of their set and just start going to town with the music.
Yeah.
So
Why
really
not?
cool.
Why not?
No.
Something different.
Did you find different levels of fulfillment with like weddings or parties or whatever? Like were there some like, what I'm getting at is like, were weddings like, no, this is kind of a boring gig, but parties, hey, this is fun. People are in a better mood or whatever,
Yeah, I found like there's some element of drama always to a wedding, depending on who they were, of course. But I would love doing the birthday parties. So like the 21st and like even like the 40th, the 30th, like I think I did a 60th, and that was a wild party, and that was like probably the funnest one I ever did.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's there's people who are a little bit more free, I imagine.
They're like, Crocodile Rock.
Did you ever get a chance to DJ any funerals? I would imagine that would be a decidedly different affair.
That's a whole market that should exist.
That's a whole market that should exest, right?
That's different.
Drop the beat and drop the body. And now.
So moving into New York, I mean, what was the actual thing that brought you over to New York? It was the contest that you won, and then that's what kicked you over to New York.
So the first time, 2011, was the acting scholarship, and then I was like back and forth. So I basically lived between Sydney and LA for 3 years.
Wow.
And then I was able to do that because of DJing and singing. So that was like, it just allowed me to live between two countries.
That's cool.
That sounds incredible.
I imagine that at a certain point, though, that grows tiresome. Isn't Sydney to Los Angeles one of the longest flights like on planet Earth?
Yes.
I think so, yeah.
Yep.
How long is that flight?
16 hours.
Wow.
I think one way, depending on which way you go, uphill, downhill, one way is like quicker, one's like 14 hours.
Really?
And the other way is like 16 or 15
A jaunty 14-hour.
Sounds like a breeze.
Just 14 hours.
Yeah.
You cross the data line too, so you're like losing and gaining a day somewhere in there.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm flying back soon, actually in a couple of days.
Wow.
So how many songs have been written in a little crowded seat on a fold-down tray?
I don't know if I've ever written a whole song on a flight, but I've written definitely lyrics.
Nice.
Yeah, definitely
Nice.
had
That
lyrics.
sounds like
on
a challenge, maybe.
It does. I mean,
Is it?
how do you access that creative flow whenever you're in those like crazy, hectic traveling environments?
Oh my gosh. I would just kind of I'd listen to a lot of music and then just kind of I tend to pick an idea about the kind of song I want to write. So like I pick a topic and then I kind of just go, okay, what kind of feel do I want to kind of take it in, and then I just like develop it from there.
Yeah.
So you're kind of a lyrics-driven artist more than a tune, perhaps? Or is it a mix?
Yeah, it's kind of a mix.
Okay.
Like sometimes I'll just like pick up the guitar. If there's a guitar there, then I'll just like pick up and just like riff off, maybe like one song I'm about to release in October is like I wrote the first 2 verses in like a minute. It was just like it just like came out.
That's got to be nice.
Yeah. And that's when I just like had a guitar in hand, just played on this, was just like vibing on this like 4 chords.
Yeah.
And then it's almost like a download.
Yeah, it's just kind
So
of
it just comes in, yeah.
It seems like that's a very common thing though in music. When you talk to a lot of artists, it's like some of the best songs, or at least some of the most popular songs, are the songs that didn't get overthought, right? They were songs that it's like, I literally thought about it on the way home from the grocery store and it popped into my head. I wrote the lyrics down in 15 minutes and it's my biggest hit. Versus the song that I agonized over the lyrics for like 6 months, doesn't get any radio play or like whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Definitely.
So I think sometimes simpler is better, especially when it comes to singing songwriting. So
Yep.
don't say it like it's a bad thing. You just whip them out in a minute or whatever.
Just like
That's
write it down. Yeah. No, it's fun.
So I imagine then from New York to LA, that acting was what kind of brought you across.
Yep.
What was the main project that brought you from New York to LA?
It was a TV show I got cast in called Vice Squad LA. So we haven't shot yet, mostly because of strikes and funding and all the rest of it. But yeah, obviously it didn't kind of happen. So I was just like, okay.
That's the way entertainment go.
It does. It does.
10,000 projects that don't ever start.
Right.
Yeah. So I did do one film, but I was like just like a small role. So I was like it was a horror film. And then so I was just like jogging by this house, and then I see this person like kind of half naked, just like hands like pressed up against the glass window, and I kind of notice him and I'm like, oh my goodness. And then so I grab out my phone and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I think someone's in need, someone needs help, blah, 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 and then that kind of stuff. So that was like the only thing I've done since I've been back acting wise.
Right.
And then everything else has just been music and music videos and writing and traveling and recording.
Well, I mean, look, to timestamp the episode just a little bit, I mean, we're currently in the middle of a couple of different industry-wide strikes, right?
Yes.
So and then of course that's double back on COVID, right? And so it's like, with Vice Squad, it's like, it was just a really unfortunate time thing. But I mean, as Jay said, he's right. Like these things kind of come and go, and it's very possible that, once things settle back, that the show will pick back up, right? I mean, it sounds cool, right? Vice Squad. Like
Vice
that's pretty,
Squad, Vice
LA.
Squad, LA.
Is that, I mean, Vice, like Miami Vice, right? That was like the whole,
Yeah.
Number 1 new show.
Don Johnson. Didn't they do a reboot of that and it just didn't work out?
Uncertain about a TV show. I know the movie.
Oh yeah, that movie was awful.
Which was old. Yeah, it was a movie, but it was good. I wanted to ask, between the music and acting, does either one take a priority for you, or is there something that like you're more passionate about, or the general performance overall is something that you enjoy?
I do love performing. I would say like music for me was like probably my number one. So that's what I kind of like go back to. But like I actually did musical theater for a while after high school.
Ah.
So,
Favorite musical?
ooh.
What
Yeah.
one would you like to do if you had the option?
Oh my gosh. I love to do Wicked.
Yeah?
I think that'd be so fun. I think it'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be really fun to be in that show. That's a lively show, so that'd be enjoyable. Yeah,
Wizard of Oz, but it's a musical? Okay.
done. Count me in. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, my boyfriend and I, we're writing like a musical, like short.
Oh.
Nice.
And I can't say too much about it yet, but yeah, we're developing that. So writing all the music for that. But I'm also in the show as well. So that's like the whole thing of like acting and music.
Yeah, I was going to say, what
coming
special
together.
problems have you encountered writing a musical? Because that's like I don't know, an album on stage, I guess.
Yeah,
At the end
like
of the day.
that's like next level, like because you're thinking of characters and like their motivation behind the song and how the story is going to develop and how it's going to grow. Like so, it's I feel like it's easier in a way just because there's like that focus of like, okay, this is what we're writing, this is what we want to, the outcome and the emotion that we want to get and what we want to say behind it with the whole script coming together and everything to create the story.
Yeah. I mean, you really got to juggle a lot of different plates like all at the same time. So I imagine that's got to be a lot of lateral thinking there for sure.
Yeah.
It's got to keep you engaged at least.
Yeah.
Or it keeps you up at night. One or the other, right?
All of the above.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, my brain hurts. Ah!
But I mean, to Chase's point earlier, though, I mean, it's like maybe you don't have to choose between one or the other right now. I mean, obviously, the world is kind of choosing for you, where a lot of people who are acting are just not doing it at the moment. But it's giving you some pretty cool opportunities to do some really great music and to really work with some incredible people. I had to write it down because it was dizzying.
Yeah,
but
you've got a lot of people. That
I mean, you work with Dolly Parton's bass player, you're working with Garth Brooks' keyboard player, and you're working with the drummer from Chicago.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible. I mean, what is it like working with that pedigree of people?
It's seriously magical. Like it's just amazing. And what I've found is like they're all just so humble and they're just like, just step into the studio, just like here's the track, and then they just like, all right, okay, great, let's go, let's do it, and they just like play it like they've been playing it for like
Their whole
years.
life.
And I'm just like, I love you guys.
That's got to be kind of a
so blessed.
unique. That's got to be kind of unique. Like to be like Dolly Parton's bass player. It's like with one phone call I can be famous, but I can go to a restaurant, nobody knows who I am.
Nah, but those are the support system for all those stars that you know and love. Like those are the people that make the people sound good. Like that's the important part. Have they taught you anything about music?
Oh yeah.
Like what have you taken from them as far as their experiences, and how have you translated that into your own career?
I remember I recorded my song "Free to Live" here in LA actually in 2020, just before COVID, like just before the world shut
Right
down.
under the wire.
It was like, and I'm out.
And we're not that free to live anymore. All of a sudden,
Free to not live.
yeah.
You also got to be one of like 5 people that had new content when all that started.
Yeah, it was like free to live. Just kidding.
Yeah. The remix is called "Free to Live Indoors" for
Indoors.
6 to 8 months. Yeah.
Yeah, but so I was super blessed to get Bruce Watson from Foreigner.
Yeah.
And Foreigner. And we're in the studio, like showed him the song, played him just the scratch track that we just did. And I had actually wrote the song 2 months before in Australia, and then I flew here to the States to record. And Marietta Waters, who sung on the Top Gun album, she's like a good friend of mine. So I recorded vocals in her studio. But then when we like recorded Bruce, it was just like, he was just like, Katy, tell me about the song and, what it means. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Bruce Watson wants to know about my song. Anyway, so I think just like hearing him and how he talked about the meaning of the song and what it meant, to kind of get for him to kind of get in mind like how he was going to play and that kind of thing, really kind of brought it back to me to ask myself the question of like, okay, I'm writing, this emotion, what instruments can I add, or how can I play it a certain way that's going to be more emotional, just that kind of stuff. So
Right. So really, he's forcing you to kind of analyze it on a way that perhaps you hadn't before, and it makes it better, right?
Yeah.
And just to infuse anything with emotion, I feel like that always comes through in performances, because we've probably all been at a concert where it sounds like someone's phoning it in, and you're like, oh, they're just playing this thing that they've played 300,000 times. But if you can make yourself care about it every time, then the audience always responds, I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's like helpful, like coming from like acting background too, to kind of, even when I'm in a booth and I'm like recording the song, to kind of not have like, to kind of go internally, visually, and like kind of like create that in my mind rather than like being, you know, in front of an actor, you know, and kind of getting that feedback and bounce off.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're acting, it's less of a singular experience, right? You have to be in the moment, you have to be present. But when you're recording, when you're making a song, especially because you are kind of the singular voice behind your music, it's more insular for you, right? You can be a little bit more inside your own mind of what does this mean to me, and you know, I don't think you can do that with that. I'm not an actor, so I don't know if you can do that while you're in the scene, but I imagine they just tickle two different parts of the brain, essentially.
Yeah, for sure.
So any pre-show rituals to get yourself into that right headspace, or pre-concert or pre-recording rituals that you go through as a musician?
I always like to, again, the alcoholic is coming out again. So I like to have like some kind of liquor just to kind of relax me. But also it kind of helps relax your vocal cords and your throat too. A lot of the music I'm like doing now kind of is more like kind of raspy in a way. So I'll just like maybe eat some like potato chips or something and then like have some whiskey or
swallow some sawdust
or a shot of tequila and it kind of just like gives you that whole like raspiness of the
right
when you're kind of like doing a track like.
But there's a flip side to that too. You don't want to push it too far, right? Because you don't want everyone to damage your voice. Is there? Yeah. Is that like having some chips or something salty like that? Is that just push you over the edge, but after an hour it fades and you're back to normal?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, actually, no, it's okay. I feel like it kind of I'll eat chips and drink whiskey, and then probably maybe like half an hour or so, an hour I'm good.
Yeah.
And I'm in my happy place vocally.
Nice. Yeah. Because you can't just walk up on stage. You got to warm it up and
you got to bring all that energy so the audience responds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they will match what you bring to the stage.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, they absolutely. If you're putting out a low-key energy, they're going to send it right back, I imagine.
Destroy you.
Yeah, they'll be like, boo,
yeah. I imagine that the audience at kids' concerts, though, were a little bit more forgiving. Perhaps.
So much, though. Yeah.
Or worse, children can't stand any kind of like delay or impatience.
They know they can spot it a mile away. They'll be like...
And they're not kind enough to modulate their response. They're just like, terrible.
No, kids were great. I mean, even like when I wrote the kids' songs, like I wrote one song that the kids loved. I was contracted to write a song a month in Australia for a kids band in Australia, kind of like the Wiggles. And
I was going to say, was it the Wiggles?
It was like the Wiggles.
The Australian Wiggles.
The Australian Wiggles, right. And so it was just like they just loved this song and they were obsessed with it. So like as soon as like the intro would come on, they'd just be like screaming and jumping up and down. So it's just like really fun. Great audience to perform in front of.
Right. Does that feeling give you energy to like go on for 5 years after that, like one good show? What does that feel like? Definitely.
I feel like probably the best performances and where I've wanted to go back has been kids shows. Because they're just so cute and fun, and you know they just get into it.
Yeah, there's less they're less self-conscious about like, oh, I feel lame dancing to this song or whatever. Yeah,
so it's cool.
And speaking of lame, we are looking at 3 empty glasses, which is decidedly pretty lame. So we are going to take a quick break. We're going to make a refill, and we will be back here in just a moment.
Be right back.
Stay tuned. You know, Chase and I might be new to the podcast game, but we do know enough that the best podcast should be recorded in an environment that really kind of spurs your creativity. And we're lucky enough to record our podcast in the Muse Rooms, which is a creative co-working shared space that we are proud to have as a sponsor, and we could not be more excited.
Yeah, you can check out the Muse Rooms online to learn more about their services and the spaces they have here. Lots of really great stuff. That is themuserooms.com. That's M-U-S-E for Muse. You can also check them out on Instagram at the Muse Rooms. But have a look at it. There's tons of great amenities. It's a really wonderful environment, like you said, and it just goes a long way in making our show amazing.
Agreed. We couldn't be happier, and we think you might be too. So please check out the Muse Rooms, and we will see you there.
Yeah, and now for part 2. We are back with Katy Tunbridge. We have refilled our Moscow Mules. The minty deliciousness is permeating the air now.
Yeah, much needed too, because it's a little warm in this room today. So these are not only are they tasty, but they're well needed to keep us cool.
Yeah, we are having AC issues, and it is very, very welcome. The first thing I wanted to ask out of this break was presumably the sensibilities in music vary from country to country. So I wanted to know what the difference that you might be aware, you might state, between Australian sensibility for music and American sensibility for music.
Yeah, good question. So I would say, I mean, growing up in Australia, we got a lot of the music in the States. But then that being said, you know, we have our Aussie bands, you know, in like AC/DC and all those guys, Men at Work, Midnight Oil, Jimmy Barnes, all these guys. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like for me, like I was always like thinking like, oh, America's more like country, that kind of thing, more focused on country music.
We
all just dress like Garth Brooks.
All of America is Texas.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Sorry about my naivety when I was younger. But so as far as like just how Australian bands like write, I feel like we kind of take our cue from America in a lot of things. And you know, obviously we've got like Keith Urban, who's like awesome. And even though like I'm not a huge fan of country, but like just the way a song is written is just so on point, and it's just like so great. Yeah, like America's kind of more, it's a bigger pool, so there's more like different genres that I kind of was just like, oh, okay, wow, so it's not just country. No. And then so Australia's more kind of going into like rock, like pop rock kind of vibes. But
did you have to adjust what you were creating once you came over here and started making projects?
Yeah, and like working with different producers as well, and just kind of being directed in a way where I just kind of was, okay, let's try it. And then I'm like, okay, cool, yeah, I like it. So yeah, I don't know if that answered your question.
No, that's great.
It did. The important thing is, as long as you still feel like your identity is shining through the music, right? Because you don't want some American producer to just wipe all the Aussie out of you, right? It's like if there's music that you loved growing up, you want to make sure that that's coming through.
Yeah.
How would you define the genre of music that you would make? The way that I would describe it is, it's the music you want to listen to with the top down on your car.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like like such like
road music.
Yeah, it's just like it makes you feel good. It's like a good vibe to it for sure. Like it doesn't make you want to like burn down a building, right? You know what I mean? But how would you describe your music?
Oh, well, thank you very much for saying that. I do write a lot of instrumental tracks. My music, I love to take people on a journey with it. So the latest song I released is called Follow the Flow, and I kind of wrote it with like, you know, basically how we've gone through life, and I wasn't even intending it to be an instrumental track, so I just picked up a guitar, I started writing different riffs, and I kind of pieced it together in a way with an idea, with a story of like, okay, imagine myself like going down a river, or just kind of going through different parts of my life, and it's okay, things are nice and cool now, great, it's chill, and then bam, something happens. It's like, no. And then so, you know, we all go through like storms and different things. So I try to write with that in mind, and also too with like, you know, placement for film and TV. Like how could this be in a story, or how could this be part of like a script or something that can tell a story?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you have, jumping off of the people going through storms, you had a particular storm that you dealt with in your life. You were tragically injured and had to go about recovering from that. Could you describe what happened to you?
Yes. So I had just recently moved back to the States here in 2021. 2 months later, I was like, okay, yes, ready to go. Let's do this. I slipped and fell in a coffee shop. So I slipped and fell in a coffee shop, and I wasn't good. So I had kind of momentum behind me as I was kind of walking through, and I slipped, got airborne.
Oh, wow.
Somehow turned mid-air, came crashing down on my left side. which resulted in me tearing all the muscles in my left arm, all the muscles around my left rib.
Wow.
I did land on my hip as well. But as I kind of landed, I put my right arm over to kind of catch myself. And then that kind of ended up, I like slipped discs in my upper spine, and I had 2 bulging discs in my lower spine. And then from that spine stuff, I was getting vertigo most days.
Wow.
So I wasn't in a good place.
Yeah,
You found the
absolutely.
perfect fall,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yes. Yeah. So that was, both, traumatic and horrible. And then so knowing that, like, I was like, okay, well, I came here to, act and to sing and write. And I'm like, okay, well, can I even do that now? So even singing was hard. I couldn't take a deep breath to sing because of the torn muscles around my ribs.
All those
The
muscles,
ribs,
my
yeah,
ribs.
yeah.
So
all
I'm
those
like,
muscles around your rib cage are immediately engaged, no matter what level of breathing is going on. So yeah, singing was probably out of the question.
yeah, and even playing guitar. So like my left hand, like my left arm, I lost a lot of strength.
Right.
I actually had nerve damage and tennis elbow and golfer's elbow at the same time. So so I couldn't play.
It's like a
I didn't have that
triathlon
strength.
of
Right?
injuries. Yeah.
Every sport injury.
Yeah, so that was just insane. And then so obviously going through that and not being able to do anything creative was really hard and like really depressing. And then even I was just like, well, what's the point of me even being here in the States anymore if I can't
Right.
write, if I can't, do these
So what?
acting gigs.
You're laid up with every injury imaginable from that horrible coffee shop. What helped motivate you through that turbulence, I guess? And yeah, just I would love to hear the story of how you came out of that.
Yeah. Alcohol. No, just kidding.
Moscow Mules. Yeah.
Moscow Mules. Medication.
Medication. Not at the same time. Be responsible.
Correct. Do not mix medications and alcohol.
Yeah, we
Official service announcement.
co-signed by everybody here at the table. Yeah, agreed.
So I guess I know it's gonna sound really not sappy, but I mean, like my mom is like my best friend. So we would talk every day, and she's like my greatest like support and my rock. So she was always just Katy, it's fine, like just you'll get better. It's just just time, like just da-da-da. And so that, and then my mom actually bought me a guitar for Christmas while I was here because I couldn't travel back to Australia at that point. Just because I couldn't physically carry a suitcase or do anything like that. And traveling internationally was just...
Yeah, sitting in an uncomfortable position for 14 to 16 hours is probably a non-starter. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess, and I've always, like, throughout my life, I've, every time I've gone through anything kind of crazy, I've always tried to be mindful to not let myself kind of go into a super dark place. So I've always, that's why I always have my mom. And I'm like, okay, not good today. And
Gotta have cheerleaders in
had
life.
that accountability partner. And so I was just like, so many like crying conversations. But I guess it was just like, I've done this for so long. Yes, it's another, spanner in the works. It's another thing that's kind of like tried to stop me doing whatever I'm doing. And I'm, Scottish background as well. So that stubbornness of like, okay,
Right.
no, okay, I'm doing this. I can do it. So,
Fuck you, England.
yeah. So I guess like just with my mom and just that, how I was raised to kind of keep going and to push through, was the thing. And then when she bought me the guitar, I think it was probably about like 8 months after, 7 months after the injury. Wow. And then so I just tried to play and just picked up the guitar and was just like, I played for like 5 minutes and it would take me out for the rest of the day into the next morning. Like it was just, I just couldn't, like the pain was just so high. And then so when I just persisted and, like I said, stubborn, like a little stubborn me. And I'm like, no, I can do this, and, again, my mom, like, it's not going to be for forever and, you'll be fine. I'm like, okay. So I just kept doing it, kept going. And then just started writing and just kind of drew from it, from what I was going through.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, do you feel like the music and the lyrics that you were writing before the injury were decidedly different than after the injury? Did your kind of perspective as an artist change after that?
Yeah, definitely. And it kind of made me want it more, I guess, even though like I felt like I couldn't. And I was just like, wait, no, I want, like, it's kind of like, no, I do want this, and I do want to do this. And, you know, the way I write, I guess the way I've changed my writing is, you know, obviously when you go through something, you see that perspective. Obviously, like, you can see other people go through stuff and you can kind of go, oh, okay, like I understand. And maybe I haven't been there, maybe I haven't been in that setting, and I don't know really what you're going through, but I understand what you're going through. So, but being in that space, it was like lowest of low, everything was stripped back. So it was really raw. So everything I was writing was just so raw. Not that what I was writing before, but I mean, I was writing kids music. So it was like Smile Jump Sing compared to, you know,
your tragedy and pain of the human condition.
Someone had to pull you aside and be like, Katy, your kids' songs are getting really depressing here all of a sudden. You gotta pick this back up.
Everyone's crying.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think just, you know, I'm kind of thankful in a way that's kind of happened, because it has changed my focus in different ways to kind of like be more on top of myself, as well as getting things done and how I'm writing.
We're very glad you healed.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, and it's, I mean, obviously, I mean, you came out the other end of that crucible, it seems stronger. I mean, you're touring all the time now. It's like I joked at the top of the show, but it's like it's hard to pin you down because you travel so often and you're touring and stuff, going all across the country. Like, that's great.
Yeah,
what is touring life like for you? Do you, I mean, I know you enjoy life on the road, but do you like do you enjoy living that lifestyle of being, you know, traveling all the time, or is it, do you get tired and you're like, I got to go back home, whether home is here in LA or Sydney, you know, wherever?
Yeah, where is it? I wake up some days, I'm like, where am I? Who am I? What am I doing? I mean, I love touring. I love being on the road, yes. It does get exhausting. But thankfully, for the most part, I've had my boyfriend with me, so I have like company, and I'm not just like, you know, lonely, because like I am a solo artist and I have just been performing on my own. So just to have him there has been great. But it is exhausting, because, you know, you're in like hotels or an Airbnb, and it's like a different bed, a different night or whatever, and it's different stage, different audience.
But the same uncomfortable sheets on every bed in every hotel in the world.
Right? It hasn't stopped basically since like November last year.
Yeah. Wow.
I've been, you know, back and forth, like different states around the United States, and then back to Australia. I've been back to Australia like it'll be 3 times this year alone.
Wow.
And then I think I've only been in LA probably maybe all up, maybe about 3 months.
Yeah.
4 months.
Wow.
3.5 months. But spaced out.
Yeah, but not
so
continuously,
it's just like, not
right?
continuously.
You've only barely seen any of Los Angeles at this point.
Yeah. So but yeah, no, it's just fun. It's exciting, and yeah, can't wait for what's next.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you've got some really cool stuff coming out. So, like I said, you've got a new track out at the moment, but you've got some new stuff coming. I mean, again, to timestamp the episode a little bit, we're recording in September. You've got some stuff coming out in October. What's next after October? What can people be looking for? Is there anything past October that you're allowed to say is coming out?
Yeah. So, a new song which I'm really pumped about, which I recorded back in Nashville the beginning of August, a song called "Lying Through Your Teeth." And I actually wrote that. So part of my story with the injury going back, I was actually living in an RV at the time. So when I first moved to the States, I lived in an RV for a year and a half. And a lot of the songs I wrote in that time, I recorded in Nashville. So these are some of the new songs that have come out of that time of being injured and everything. So Lying Through Your Teeth is coming out October, and I've got a Christmas record
Nice.
as well. So
Are you excited to like dip your toes into that genre?
Yeah.
That's definitely a well-worn genre, but it's like every year somebody comes up with a new way to, to beat it, I think. Like
Anybody can unseat Mariah Carey. I'd be very happy.
But yeah, no, I love Christmas so much. So that's just like my happy place.
What was the like the absolute standard that you were like, I gotta do my version of Jingle Bells or whatever it was, right?
Yeah, I mean, I always go for fun, but like rocking around the Christmas tree.
Yeah, that's a good
Just
one.
because it's fun,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Christmas songs can feel a little stale, so that's why it's fun when an artist like yourself kind of puts a new spin on it and makes it, kind of fresh and unique.
Thank you.
Yeah. Were you able to work with some of those incredible musicians as well for some of these Christmas songs?
Yeah. So the guys, I know I definitely have Dolly's bass player on the Christmas track.
Nice.
And maybe probably Garth Brooks keys player on that one too. But so it's just going to be more like just guitar, more stripped back, but super fun.
Nice. That'll be cool. I can't wait to listen to that. I imagine, not to impose, but I imagine it's coming out in December-ish.
Yeah, around that time. Yeah, around Christmas time. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, that would make sense. It'd be weird. You're like, no, we're going to release it in March.
Summer Christmas album.
Summer Christmas album, yeah.
Christmas in July.
Yeah.
Yes, December this year.
Perfect.
Yeah, and then more records coming out early next year. One I actually started, it's a cover song and written by Pharrell Williams and Aloe Black.
Nice.
And my spin on it. So it's like, yes, it's soul, more like soul funk. And again, super blessed to have the musicians on that I have. So Les King, who played with Tom Jones. So Tom Jones, bass player. And he just nailed it. I've got like Warren G's sound guy doing like, some guitars and everything like that. So that'll come out early next year.
Nice.
As well.
Very nice.
Very, very exciting.
Now because you've got a background in sound engineering as well. For folks that perhaps don't know, and are not aware of this, can you kind of talk for a second about how important mixing and mastering is to a good record, a good song, right? How much of a difference that makes from, just somebody doing it in their garage, which there's nothing wrong with that, but the difference between a good mix and master on a song versus kind of a,
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, you can even just tell any kind of sound quality listening to like the radio compared to something you record on your phone or something like that. So to have a good song with a good mix and a good master is just going to take it to that next level. But I mean, even like recording and how you record too. So it's super important. Like if you want to get songs placed in TV and film, there's like certain ways that a track is mixed and mastered for film as opposed to radio, more so of like how you want to hear it in left and right speakers and where it's coming from. This is all like that whole sound design aspect of it and where you're sending each sound, like how you kind of play it out.
Yeah, you're building a scene just like someone would build an image on a screen that you're looking at. Like you're building a 3D space that the song is occupying inside a master.
Now people have tools that they can do it that are built into their laptops and stuff. Does that make it harder to actually make a good mixed record where it's like you really got to know what you're doing, right? You can't just because you have access to these good programs doesn't mean you know what you're doing with them.
Right. Definitely there's like amazing tools and programs out there, like different plugins that you can kind of get that's going to affect the sound and how it's heard. Just over the years, like just realizing like to train your ear and just to like hear how sound is actually perceived in the brain compared to, and like what's good about all these programs now, you can be in your own home studio and you can play around with like, EQ or the oscillation or I would say, I mean, it could be harder maybe.
More options, right? Makes
there's so many options, and just I feel a lot of writing, mixing, and everything is it just comes down to decisions and deciding, what you want to hear or if it does sound good and if not, where you're going to take it to next, kind of thing.
Right. Are you the type of artist that on certain projects, certain tracks, certain records, are you able to kind of stamp it and go, it's done, it's finished? Or are you kind of like I could remix this. That guitar part, you know what, I put it on the left, maybe let's put it back in the center or whatever. Like, do you like to tweak?
I do. Like, I'm my own worst enemy, like, sometimes, because I, like, get perfectionist mode, and then I'm like, it's not perfect. And I'm like, okay, it's, Right. So I love collaborating for that point. Just because, you have another set of ears on it. And I always, I have done this in the past, but every track I've written, I've always sent it to, another producer or someone else I know in music that can kind of go, oh, okay, I'm hearing this. Maybe, turn up the guitars, or maybe turn down, the kick drum, or something like that, or turn up the kick drum.
Right.
More cowbell.
More,
yeah.
more bells.
That day with the producer was wacky. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I'm excited. I'm really excited for all the new music that you've got coming out. And again, I think if people want to come see you on tour, if they want to see you perform, where is the best place for people to kind of keep up with you? Because obviously you're doing a lot. Yeah. Where would you direct people to kind of keep up with your releases and all your work?
I would probably direct them, to Instagram, because I've got everything kind of that main hub. I've got a lot of previous stuff that I've done, played. So videos of me playing and singing. Is that
just at Katy Tunbridge?
Katy Tunbridge 1. Yeah, at Katy Tunbridge 1.
Who is the asshole that beat you to it?
Actually, there's only one other Katy Tunbridge that I know of online, but she's... I think she does some work in Africa or something like that, something amazing.
I was about to say, bully this person online.
No,
don't do that. Just kidding.
But so Instagram, but everything's out there on streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, Napster. I was like, Napster's still
doing it.
Still
you there.
Still
back
there. In the day.
That's kind of a badge of honor 2023. My song got pirated.
People love it so much.
That's gotta be.
But yeah, I kind of keep everyone up to date mostly on my Instagram.
That's awesome. Well, cool. Well, please follow Katy on Instagram, see where she's coming. Her music is great, and we hope you like it too. Katy, when you're back in town again, we'd love to have you back on the show. Maybe we'll do a Christmas themed episode. We'll get some Christmas jingles. That'd be fun.
A little bit of holly.
Yeah,
awesome.
Some eggnog.
Yeah, that'll be fun. We'll have to look into that. So
awesome. Sounds fun.
Thank you again so much for coming on the show. We
Thank you very much, Katy.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, anytime.
It's an honor. Thanks.
All right. If you want to keep up with us, you can follow us at 2drinkmaximum on Instagram. That's so long.
Yeah, I know.
We shouldn't have done that.
I know. What were you thinking? We just need to get it tattooed on our arms so that we can always just have it. Yeah.
But also a big thank you to the Muse Rooms for providing us the recording space today. Wonderful co-working creative space. Check them out at themuserooms.com. That's MUSE for Muse. And thank you again, Katy, for joining us. This was spectacular. This is wonderful.
Thank you so much.
We will see you again next time, everybody.
Cheers.
Bye.
Cheers.